everybody? My name is Scott Paddock, and today we are going to talk about Altissimo. Altissimo is one of the most frequently asked about topics on my social media platforms, so we're going to go pretty in-depth into this topic. I'm fairly new to the YouTube tutorial videos, so if you like what you see and you find these videos useful, please share them with your friends and help me develop a little bit more of an audience. In this video about Altissimo, we're going to cover four main topics. The first being the fingerings, second, the embouchure, third, a few tricks that you can use to help get the notes come out cleaner, and lastly, how to make Altissimo a functional part of your playing. Okay, so let's start with fingerings. Fingerings for Altissimo can change with the player, the horn, the equipment, whatever. So these are the fingerings that I use on alto. They've worked for me on every horn I've ever played. They don't work for me as well on tenor. I have to switch some things up. I've got other friends who use different fingerings, so it just depends on what works best for you. But with all my students, these fingerings have worked very well on the alto. So we're going to start off with G, your high G, and I finger that 1, 3, 1, side B flat, and E flat. Again, that's 1, 3, 1, side B flat, and E flat. I know that's a lot of fingers and they seem really strange, but once you get this fingering and you get comfortable with it, it sets up the rest of the Altissimo really nicely. So from G, which is 1, 3, 1, side B flat, and E flat, go into G sharp is super easy. You just switch your B flat to your side C. So it's 1, 3, 1, side C, and E flat. 1, 3, 1, side C, and E flat. From there, it gets way easier. A is super simple. It's a D with your front finger lifted. So it's 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. A is 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. This is also a note that I usually have my students start off with. It seems like the easiest note to get out for your first note. Once you get this note out, finding everything else is fairly easy, but getting your first one can take a little bit of work. The next fingering is super easy. You keep this fingering and you add your palm key D. So you have 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and palm key D. So that is your B flat. From there, B, you just add your high D sharp key. So again, it's 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, D, and D sharp. So from A to B flat to B, you're just adding one key. Pretty simple. Now we get to C. C is where things change a little bit. For me, C is just the front F key, the top F key, the front F key, not the side F, but the front F. Just holding that. Then for C sharp, I add my high E key over here on the side. So we have C, C sharp, and then for D, I add my high F sharp key to that. So we have C, which is just your front F, C sharp, which is your front F with your side E, and D, which is adding your high F sharp key to that. So it's front F, side E, and high F sharp key. I didn't say this with each fingering, but they all obviously have your octave key on them since they're super high notes. So now let's talk about your embouchure. Your embouchure is what gets these notes out. Just doing the right fingering. Like if you're playing an A, those notes will pretty much come out if you have your fingers in the right spot, even if your embouchure is a little bit off. For your high notes, your embouchure has to be 100% on for them to come out. And it takes a lot of work. You're not gonna just pop out Altissimo notes and then work all the time. It's gonna be, you're gonna work for a very long time and get your first one. Then once you get your first one, it'll be super inconsistent. The more you work on it, the more consistent it'll be. And then you'll keep adding notes to it. And the more you do it, the more consistent it'll be. But it's never 100% there. I miss Altissimo notes all the time just because if your tongue is not 100% in the right spot, those notes do not come out crystal clear. So, embouchure. Just like your high notes on your palm key, you want your tongue to be in the E position. Meaning, say the word E, E. When you say the word E, the back of your tongue goes way up and your front of your tongue slopes down. So it makes the air come into your mouthpiece that way and sets you up for your high notes. Now try an A, which is 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like I just said, they're not 100%. That third one didn't come out. So I also squeeze harder than I usually do. When I'm playing my normal notes, everything is firm. My embouchure is firm. But when I go for the high notes, these corners are in really tight. I'm squeezing those notes out. So when practicing your Altissimo, Most of the time, if the notes are not coming out, it's all about your embouchure. So keep messing with your tongue until you get even a portion of the note. You might not get the full note out, but if you get any like little fraction of the note, hang on to it. Something like this. Like my students do that all the time when they're trying to get that note. They get this middle overtone and like every now and then a squeak of the correct note. That's totally fine. Hold it. Just keep holding it and then keep raising your tongue until you get the full note. That's what it's going to sound like in the beginning. It's not going to sound super strong and powerful when you start off. It takes a long time to get to that. So don't be afraid of getting some squawks and squeaks. Hold them. Keep messing with your tongue until hopefully you can get your tongue up high enough that that note comes out. Second, do not sneak into the note. That does not work. What I mean by that is like gradually increase the air until you have enough for the saxophone to work. So if you're trying to get an altissimo note doing this, it's not going to work. You need all that air at once. So release the air with your tongue, all the air at once. More often than not, you're probably going to get some what I call furps in the beginning. Just keep raising your tongue until you get the actual note. Did you hear how the note got closer and closer as I raised my tongue? Listen one more time. It's all about getting that tongue up really high. So with your embouchure, you want your tongue up high, your corners in tight, your fingers obviously in the right spot, and start your air all at once with your tongue. In my normal playing, I rarely change my embouchure. Like I might loosen up or tighten up a little bit if I'm doing something, but I never move it around that much, except for when I'm doing altissimo. So this is a little trick, kind of like a little cheat to help it get out better and cleaner and fatter and stronger. So what I do with my lower jaw is normally I'm right here on my mouthpiece. When I know I'm going to altissimo, I slide that lower jaw out a little bit. And doing that, it lets more reed vibrate. And with more reed vibrating, I can get those high notes out not only perfectly, but stronger. So the stronger you can get the altissimo note, the better it sounds. So I'm going to do it normal without moving it. Sounds perfectly fine. It's I can still do it. I can still get those notes even without moving my embouchure, but when I move my lower lip out just a little bit, I'm not talking about a ton, just a little bit, it opens it up and makes the note gigantic, and it makes it pretty easy to get to. That's a trick most people don't know, most people don't do, and you can hear when they're playing altissimo notes and they feel squeezed off, it's because they don't have that reed vibrating enough. So if I'm playing a lick and I know I'm going up high, when I take my breath, I'll plan it so that I take in a little bit more mouthpiece, so I set it up. Here's what I do if I was going to try to go up to a high note. So when I took that little breath, you could see my jaw just sneak in just a little bit. It makes the notes so much better. I definitely recommend taking in a tiny bit more mouthpiece. It will make those notes giant and fat. And that's when you could also add tons of vibrato and all kinds of edge and stuff to it. Because the reed is so much more open, you can do so much more stuff to the note. A little edge on it. A common misperception of how to do altissimo on saxophone is biting. Do not bite. That's not going to do anything. It's a cheat that will get you up high, but you can't control it and it doesn't sound good. You're going to ruin your reeds. You're going to hurt your lip. Don't bite. I use altissimo functionally, like it's just the normal note. Like for me, they're not special notes. Obviously, if I'm like wailing on a solo and I want like a big finish and I scream out a high note, I use it that way too. But I'm also very likely just to be playing a lick and go up high and come down, and it's no big deal to me because I practice it so much that it's just another part of my saxophone. So with my students, what I do is I have them play first their chromatic scale. If they can't go all the way up to the high D, you just do your chromatic scale as high as you can go. So say your highest note is B flat, then you would go. When practicing altissimo, you shouldn't do it for more than 2 or 3 minutes at a time because it is definitely a lip killer. You put so much more pressure on it than normal saxophone playing. So the way I have my students get these altissimo notes really super functional is by playing nursery rhymes up there. I know it sounds a little silly, but if you can play nursery rhymes up there, you can play pretty much anything else up there. And nursery rhymes are super easy, so you don't have to think about the notes. All you have to do is think about moving your fingers. So I start them off with Mary Had a Little Lamb in G. So you're going B, A, G, A, B, B, B. Once they get that, we'll do it in different keys. So we'll start in E flat. So that starts us on a G, your altissimo G. You're going through the break, G, F, E flat. And E. Then F. F sharp. Back to G. A flat. A. Then finally B flat. Of course, with all of those, you'd play the full song, not just the first 3 or 4 notes. From there, then we do hot cross buns. And once you get to that point where those nursery rhymes are coming out pretty clean, then I have them start doing octave jumps. So like for A, we'd go. Then B flat. B. C. So on and so forth, just to get those notes so that they're really, really functional and they're not special notes. So that's pretty much it. If you have your fingerings down, you get the correct embouchure, you get your lower jaw out a little bit, and you work on playing them functionally, you'll be crushing your altissimo notes in no time at all. If you like this video, please share it, comment on it, send it to your friends. I'm pretty new at the YouTube tutorial thing, so if you could help me by spreading the word, I would really appreciate it. I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for checking me out.